Okay, here I would like to introduce an example for the process of defining a problem and redefining a problem. Okay, then now I would like to demonstrate how you may define a problem and analyze and redefine the problem by using this example. Actually, the example is house, or let me call it residential building. So why we live in house, actually residential building, is we want to be protected from wind and rain, and but as far as living in a house, especially in Japan, we are always exposed to the risk of danger caused by earthquake. So in this case, let's say the system is residential building, and the positive state is sheltering person from wind and rain, and negative state is dangerous when earthquake hit. And by using the template which I have introduced before, this problem could be defined like this. If we introduce residential building, it can shelter person from wind and rain, but it is dangerous when earthquake hits. So nobody disagree with this is not a problem. So I would like you to notice that a problem is clearly defined by using three information elements. The next step is analyzing the problem. So what we need to do is analyze the description of positive state and negative state by using function analysis. So how we could describe these states, positive and negative state, in the format of subject and verb and object. So positive state could be recognized as residential building stop wind and rain. And on the other hand, a negative state could be described as residential building hurts persons. So you should recognize these described by using subject, verb, and object. Then you need to perform a productive function analysis. And what you should do first is analyze how positive state, actually sheltering person from wind and rain, is generated. So detailed function analysis should be performed considering the following items. What are components in the system? So although I'm not a specialist in this field, but I could recognize the components of residential building, actually house like this: ground, base, pole, floor, wall, and roof. And you may ask this question next: are there any systems outside the system? I recognize, yeah, water could be a component outside of the system, or also air. Actually, water is rain and air is wind. The next question, when the positive state is generated, including periodic timing, I think always. As far as we are staying inside the house, we want to be protected from rain and wind. Next question, where the positive state is generated in the residential building, and in which situation the positive state is generated, conditions, including conditions, person in the residential building. So in this situation, we want the positive state is generated from the system. Then taking these components into consideration, we could think about, we could perform the function analysis, how residential building stops wind and rain. So function analysis is like this. The function residential building stops wind and rain could be broken down into details, broken down into more detailed functions. So this is just an example, but ground holds base, base holds floor, base holds pole, pole holds wall, floor holds wall, pole holds roof, wall stops air, which is wind, wall stops water, which is rain, roof stops air, which is wind, roof stops water, which is rain. So this is a function analysis, how residential building stops wind and rain as a combination of more detailed functions, more specific functions. Then you could do similar thing on negative state, also dangerous when earthquake hits is generated. Then so you could ask the same question, what are components in the system? So taking negative state, the description of negative state into consideration, we need to add some other components such as person and furniture. So person need to be get injured, or furniture. We need furniture to let the person get injured in the case of earthquake. Next question is, are there any systems outside the system? I didn't come up with further outside systems. Then when the negative state is generated, including periodic timing, well, when earthquake hit is only once in 50 years, so we should be scared by the large earthquake, which happens once in 50 years, where the negative state is generated, where person exists. In which situation the negative state is generated, including conditions under the situation of earthquake, under the situation where the components are not strong enough, and under the situation where the components hit persons. Then taking the results of taking the answers to the questions into consideration, you could perform the function analysis to describe the negative state of this system, dangerous when earthquake hits. Actually, the function of the negative state was residential building has person. So this function could be broken down into detailed functions such as ground moves or jolt base moves, jolt floor moves, confuses person, base moves, jolt pole, and pole moves breaks wall. Floor moves or breaks wall has person, pole move or breaks roof has person, floor moves furniture has person, or other functions may have been influencing the situation. Air deteriorates wall, water, which is rain, deteriorates wall, air deteriorates roof, water, rain deteriorates roof. Then what you should do next is associate functions related to positive state with functions related to negative state. Then you should notice that the problem accompanies the combination of smaller conflicts. For example, to build a house, to build a residential building, ground necessary to hold base. But because of this function, in the case of earthquake, ground moves base. And similar thing is happening in other functions. I would like you to just look through this combination of functions related to positive state, functions related to negative state. So we have performed, you should notice that we have performed function analysis on the problem. If we introduce residential building, it can shelter person from wind and rain, but it is dangerous when earthquake hits. So this problem has been broken down into the combination of smaller conflicts. Then let me use this template. If you introduce system, the combination of smaller conflicts happens. Then by applying this template, the initial definition of the problem could be redefined as a template which is shown in this slide. If we introduce residential building, ground hold base, but ground moves base. Base holds floor, but base moves floor. Base holds pole, but floor moves persons. Base holds pole, but base moves pole. Pole holds wall, but pole moves wall. And you should notice that the many of conflicts are causing the problem. Okay, this is all for this session. Thank you for listening.